Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Monday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I'm Paul Dottino. He's Matt Citak. We're coming to you from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Speaking of getting better, the weather was perfect today. Low 80s, bright sunshine, nice breeze. Could not have asked for a more gorgeous afternoon to have a practice. And then on top of that, the offense had quite a bit of fireworks. Now, it was a shells practice, folks. Full practice resumes again on Wednesday in full pads. Only a shells, but a number of really strong performances by the receivers today. Quarterbacks threw the ball well. We did have a pick six by Javon Holland.
I was going to say, the defense made some plays, too.
They had 3 or 4, but not as many as the offense. I thought the offense won today.
Well, for at least a portion of practice, the team drills were taking place in the red zone, which,
yes,
as we've spoken about
is always
before,
going to be to their advantage.
That typically leans towards the offense's advantage, yeah. But, yeah, the offense stepped up.
All right, we're going to get to that in just a second. Our number is 201-939-4513. Also, hashtag Giants Chat on Twitter. Johnny Mac, are we on YouTube today? Yes. Are we streaming? We are streaming live on YouTube. And Johnny Mac, as always, will be taking a look at the comments that you guys post there. You can ask us questions and comment there on the show as well. We'll try to feed those, or field those, I should say, as well as taking your phone calls. Again, 201-939-4513. If you're not watching the show live, you can get it on the archive at our entire podcast network through the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcasts. Okay, let me get out my trusty notebook. You got your notebook? And let's quickly go through some of the highlighted plays from practice today. All right, the best defensive play, let's just start with the top plays of the day. Javon Holland, pick six. Russell Wilson throws over the middle on a deep slant to Wan'Dale Robinson. Hollins read it, stole it, and was off to the races.
Yeah, took it the other way for a touchdown. You know, it was nice to see some of the defensive linemen. I don't know if you noticed this, but some of the defensive linemen, and most notably Brian Burns, as soon as he saw Javon Holland picked off the pass, immediately started sprinting downfield to throw him some blocks. Again, this is practice, team drills. There's no need for him to do that, but that just goes to show, similar to the play that he got a little banged up on last week, Brian Burns has one speed, and it is full go.
Yes.
He's got a motor that hopefully, if he stays healthy all year, we're going to see that a little bit more. But, yeah, Javon Holland, I mean, he made a nice play. I couldn't tell from my angle if the ball was, right out past Wan'Dale's outstretched arms. It might have, gone through his arms a little bit. It would have been a nice grab.
Holland read the play.
But Holland was behind.
Yeah, and
he didn't jump the route, but I'm saying. But
no,
yes,
he didn't jump.
He did read it.
He read it.
Standing in the perfect place to make the play on the ball.
All right, some other, why not? Why don't, you know what? You mentioned the defense. Let's just do the defensive plays first because there are more offensive plays.
Yeah, we got a handful of pass breakups throughout 11-on-11 drills.
Yep, Trey Hawkins, Raheem Lane.
Trey Hawkins had a great one in the end zone. It's actually the cover of today's practice gallery up on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app. If you want to, I'll show you real quick, Paul, just so you see, because it's a great angle of the play.
Who took that shot? Do we know?
I believe it was Brennan.
Wow.
Our new team photographer, Brennan, who's been doing a great job so far.
That is a sweet photo.
Yeah. So that was a great play by Trey Hawkins in the end zone on the little Jordan Humphrey. Then Raheem Lane had a pass breakup earlier during 11-on-11s, and I had TJ Moore down for a pass breakup. And then I believe that was it.
Those are the only ones that I had.
We did see the defensive line get some solid pressure on plays. Again,
a number of times.
As I've pointed out on the show before, a lot of times during these team drills, when the D-line gets a pressure on the quarterback, sometimes the coaching staff will call the play dead if it's a complete obvious sack and he's surrounded by 3 guys. But a lot of the time, they kind of let the play continue on because, while up front the play is sort of over, the secondary, the receivers, they're all still going full go. So
exactly.
they tend to let it play out. So we did see a couple of, downfield passes occur on plays like that where if it were a game, I don't know if the quarterback would have actually gotten the pass off. So the D-line just, continues to get solid pressure. And that's nothing against the offensive line, because I think the offensive line is, with the limited that we've been able to get to actually see with them in pads, which, again, they were not today. But O-line's been, it's been solid, but the D-line just looks like it, it could potentially carry this team this year.
Let's see what happens in full pads on Wednesday.
For sure.
Again, only shells today, so the O-line is at a disadvantage.
For sure.
Okay, we always make sure to tell you guys that, because it does make a difference.
Yes.
You have to put all these comments that we throw at you in context because of the style of the practice that they were undertaking.
Yep.
All right, let's go through some of the catches. Well, Montrell Washington, the former Kansas City Chief, among others, made one of those really sweet stabs today that you just is going to go on the highlight film. It would have made SportsCenter's top 10 if they were doing it for training camp practices, but they don't. He told us afterwards it was definitely his best play of camp.
Yeah, so that occurred during 7-on-7s, the first team period. I believe a clip of it got posted, I think by us. If not, I did see
did the team site have it?
I saw a clip of it going around. Someone, either the reporters or someone in the stands got it, but he just reached up with one hand and snags it out of the air. And this was like at least 20 yards down the field.
Yeah.
It was not a short pass by any means. He just made a beautiful, fantastic play on the ball to come down with it. We've been saying his name a lot. It seems like at least once a practice, we say Montrell Washington's name, and in a positive light. We've been discussing, before training camp, we discussed, we don't know who's going to be that, backup slot position for Wan'Dale Robinson. Well, so far, there seems like a pretty clear answer on who at least is the favorite for that spot right now.
I don't know about that. Now, Washington, over the last few practices, has absolutely earned his keep. In fact, Brian Dable said guys like that earn more reps and with the higher level team because they deserve it.
Yeah, he's been mixed in with the first team offense.
That is true, but don't sleep on Dylan Cambry, who's had a terrific offseason and today caught a really sweet back shoulder throw along the right sideline. Or Gunnar Olszewski, who during the final 11-on-11 period today caught 4 passes from Jameis Winston on the drive. 3 of them were spectacular catches, and of course he capped it off with a touchdown grab.
Yeah, that was a great final play by Gunnar. A familiar face, obviously. Clearly the coaching staff likes him, otherwise he would not have been brought back last week. Yeah, look, just my opinion, I guess, but the way that Montrell Washington has played and the way that he's caught passes from Jameis Winston, from Jackson Dart especially, and from Russell Wilson, plus his abilities in the special teams and the kick return, which he mentioned today when he spoke to the media, which again is a good sign for him, say. But he said, look, if I make this team, it's going to be because of my return abilities, and then if I can show him what else I can do as a pass catcher, that's added on. That's great. And he's getting an opportunity. He also had what, at least so far, it's August 4th, was my favorite quote of training camp so far. Because obviously the beat reporters kept asking him, it seems like you make a big play every single day.
Yeah. And
with a smile on his face, he goes, yeah, my motto is a catch a day keeps the coaches away.
Yes.
And that was just amazing. And clearly it's a motto he's been, following suit with, because he's made at least one big catch almost every single practice.
Again, he's put himself on the radar. I don't necessarily know that I'd make them a favorite. Bo Collins, to me, was the best of that cluster of receivers, and then he wound up having to come out, and he's been with the trainers the last couple of days.
Yeah, but
that didn't help him.
Of course. And, Bo Collins has had a strong camp. Cambry's had
whole
a strong
off-season.
Cambry's done well as well.
Anyway.
It's just, when we talk about these last couple of wide receiver spots, as you and I have spoken about at length, whoever it is that makes the team in that spot, the 1 or 2 guys are going to have to contribute in a pretty big way on special teams. They cannot just purely play wide receiver. That's just not what that roster spot is going to be used for. So
no question.
We'll see what happens. All this is, great during practice. It's the preseason where all of these guys that we're talking about are really going to have an expanded opportunity to show what they can do. And as we've seen, Montreal Washington is wearing that number 80, and he was even asked. It was brought up at the very end. A pretty popular wide receiver who kind of came out of nowhere that made that number famous for the New York Giants.
Phil McConkey.
Victor Cruz had his moment because of what he did in the preseason.
He
so
sure
for
did.
all of these guys, come Saturday is the first opportunity they're going to have a chance to do it in a game, and we'll see what they can do.
Had 3 grabs by Malik Neighbors today. And every time he grabs one, the entire crowd goes nuts. And quite honestly, they were nice grabs. They weren't spectacular, but they were nonetheless nice athletic grabs. And Neighbors does this every single practice.
I would say there was one that I would say at least was near spectacular.
You like the slide?
The first one.
The one where he went down?
The
or
first one
the stab?
during 11-on-11s when he leaped up into the air.
The stab.
Looked like he just jumped over everybody on the field.
Drew Phillips was in coverage.
Yeah, it was good coverage. It's just Malik.
It was right there.
Again, and Montreal Washington also, not to keep going back to him, but he had a quote about Malik. Because someone asked him, have you been picking stuff up from Malik and have you given anything to Malik? And he was pretty honest. He's like, I don't know if I've given anything to Malik, but I've certainly picked up a lot from him. And the biggest thing is when you throw the ball up to Malik, he's coming down with the ball. You know it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, that's how I want to get to. I want to get to a point where the quarterbacks feel that way about me. But that just goes to show even his new teammates, it hasn't taken them long to realize Malik Neighbors is just different. He's special.
Spoiled by him.
I know. I can't believe you didn't think that first catch in 11-11
The first
was
catch was the one that bordered on sensational.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've come used to him
this is what he
do
does.
It. I know, but I guess we are getting spoiled by him.
Every practice, he makes at least one eye-opening grab. Every single practice.
Yes, and that one that we were talking about was from Russell Wilson.
Yes.
And I just bring that up because, again, almost every one of these big Malik catches we've talked about, Russell Wilson has been the one throwing him the ball. Starting quarterback, number 1 star receiver.
Mm-hmm.
The more chemistry that they can grow and develop as we get closer and closer to week 1, the better. So I would love to see it. I hope we see 100 more of them over the next month.
I wrote down Hyatt with a nice back shoulder catch from Wilson despite blanket coverage from Tay Banks. That was early in practice. I had that one.
And so just real quick on that play, because I don't know, not many people noticed it. It was a great throw.
Phenomenal.
Where only Jalen Hyatt could catch it, and he did catch it, and they ruled it a catch.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to give Deontay Banks credit because after Hyatt made the catch, before he stepped out of bounds, Deontay Banks punched the ball out.
He did.
He knocked it out of his hands. I think it would have been a catch.
The ref said it was a catch.
Fumble out of bounds. It would have been one of those plays, especially because it was on the sideline where in a game it probably would have been reviewed, and then they would have had to go to the super slow motion to see if he actually completed the catch before he knocked it out. But I just want to give Deontay Banks credit because it's going down as a catch for Hyatt, but he made a great play on the ball to knock it out of his hands at the last second.
4 or 5 defensive players immediately signaled incomplete because they wanted to have that pass defense for Banks. He wasn't getting it from the ref, though. So
no, the ref ruled it a catch.
But I'm glad you brought up Banks because, again, he's had a terrific offseason.
Yeah.
All right. Who else do we have here? I mentioned Camry before. We had a really nice catch right over the middle on a crossing route. It was a rope in the end zone from Jackson Dart to Zach Pascal. Do you remember that one? That was an 11-on-11 in the red zone.
Yep.
That was a real sharp laser beam, and Pascal just plucked it right inside the back line.
Yeah, that was a great play. And as we're all sticking on Jackson Dart, one of those plays I mentioned earlier where might have been a sack in the game, but they let it play out. Darius Alexander gets pressure on Jackson Dart and flushes him out of the pocket. He's sort of a little bit of a scramble drill again. I think Darius probably would have gotten a sack. It would have been close at least. But nonetheless, Jackson Dart made a fantastic, jumping throw where he literally jumped and threw the ball while in the air, falling out of bounds. And he hit, who was it? He hit Lil Jordan Humphrey over the middle for what would have been a first down. And it was one of those first, insanely athletic.
That was in the first 11-on-11 period.
Yes.
Yeah.
one of the first
the red zone pass
really,
was to Pascal.
Yeah,
the other one was to Humphrey.
Yes.
Yeah.
But just that throw, I mean, we kind of saw Jackson Dart do a little bit of that in college at Ole Miss with being able to, I'm not comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, but just the way that Patrick Mahomes will sometimes like jump in the air and make an insane throw midair at an insane arm angle. Today was one of the first times we saw, in person at least, Jackson Dart make one of those throws. Literally, he was jumping, diving, falling, and he still throws it perfectly like sidearm to little Jordan Humphrey, who was crossing the middle. It was just a great play.
The other one that I starred on my notebook was Jameis Winston to Greg Dulcich for a touchdown on a tightrope. Another one of these throws. We saw several of those throws today from all the quarterbacks where, they're just finding the top of the pin. We're talking about hitting the pinhead, just putting the ball exactly where it has to be, Matt.
Yeah, that was a great throw and a great catch by Dulcich. It was nice to see Dulcich come up with that play because he did have a drop earlier in practice. So for him to bounce right back and make a great contested grab in the end zone for a touchdown like that, that was just great to see. Because for the most part, he's had a pretty good camp. He's had a couple of drops, but for the most part, he's had a strong camp. So it was just nice to see him bounce back pretty quickly like that.
All right, did you have anything else? Those were all the plays that I starred in my book. Did you have anybody else?
You mentioned the Cambry from Jameis sideline grab. I did just have one Tommy DeVito to Gunnar Olszewski earlier. Obviously not the final drive.
Right.
Gunnar was kind of just open, but Tommy hit him in stride downfield for a big gain. And just that last drive by Gunnar was, I don't remember seeing a receiver not on the level of Malik Neighbors have a training camp series like Gunnar did.
Unbelievable.
So I've been live tweeting plays during practice, and before I could even send it for the first Gunnar catch was a great catch. He then makes two other ones back to back from Jameis. They get all the way down the field, and then of course Jameis finds Gunnar in the end zone. He had 4 grabs on that final play where the offense was sort of simulating a real drive moving down the field. His stat line on that drive alone probably would have been 4 catches for, 50 plus yards in the touchdown, something like that.
Probably.
He was catching everything that Jameis was throwing in his direction. It was very impressive.
And that was also the best 11-on-11 drive that I've seen Jameis Winston have the whole offseason.
Yeah, so he had one. The first throw was a good downfield throw to Gunnar, who made a strong play. The next 2 were sort of short intermediate routes. And then the play that got the Giants all the way down inside the 10-yard line, Jameis threw a great ball. I forgot who the receiver was, but he got I think it was Dante Miller potentially. Drew a defensive pass interference.
That was the one down the left side.
Yeah.
It was a wheel route.
Yeah, it was to Turbo, right?
It was Turbo.
Yeah.
It was Turbo.
But Jameis put it in a place where the defender had no choice but to hit Turbo, otherwise give up a humongous play. So they ruled a defensive pass interference, and then the next play is when Jameis found Gunnar for the touchdown.
All right, folks, 201-939-4513. That's a wrap on today's practice session. And man, oh man, I can't wait to see another practice after what we saw today, especially with that weather.
I can't wait for Saturday, man. I just want to see a game already. I'm ready.
Believe you me, I'm looking forward to it as well. We go to the phone lines. Brandon in New Jersey, you're first on the show. Hello.
Good morning, fellas. How are y'all?
Good. How are you?
Hi.
I just wanted to talk about situational football. One of the things that's kind of plagued the Giants in recent years, short yardage situations. I was one of those people in the rain in the Jets game who could have won. Just go for it on 4th and 1. But, short yardage situations have been like kind of a deal. It's been an issue for the team for a while. And I was hoping that it'd get fixed. Paul, I talked to you earlier. I think that was even at the end of last season, and requested we get Earth, Wind, and Fire. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, sure.
We ended up with more wind and no earth. That's what we ended up with. And so my first preliminary question, just to see if we're all on the same page, would you put Cam Skattebo at fullback?
No.
He's
not a fullback.
Right.
Let me put it to you this way. Do you remember Ron Dane?
No.
No. Okay. Ron Dane was a Heisman Trophy winner. Okay. He was here during the late 90s. And actually, no, it was probably the early 2000s. It was
I was going to say, I think 2000.
2000, yeah, not late 90s. He was here with Jim Fossil and then bled into the Tom Coughlin era. So it was about 2000, 2001. First round draft pick. He was a Wisconsin running back who was lower and thicker, and a lot of people said, well, he's got to be a fullback. But here's the problem. His skill set did not scream fullback. His body frame did, but his skill set was of a halfback. And, I've talked to Tiki Barber about this multiple times. People kept wanting to see Dane as a fullback, but that was not his talent. It just wasn't. And he was put a square peg into a circular hole. And in a lot of ways, that's why his career with the Giants never flourished. If you do that to Cam Skattebo, you're going to misuse him and never get him to reach his potential. That would be a terrible mistake. I'm telling you that right now. If there's a fullback on this team, it's going to wind up being part-time duties for Bellinger. Because he's the one, who's the one more likely to take snaps at fullback, again, assuming he makes the team. And I think he will. Yeah,
I was going to say, it's just sort of putting Skattebo at fullback would sort of just be like a waste of his talent. He's way too skilled of a running back to put him at fullback. If the Giants are going to, have anyone line up at fullback, I agree completely with Paul. It's going to be one of the tight ends just lining up in the backfield in front of the running back. And it's not going to be, I don't think, too often. It'll be an occasional play, or maybe even, finally, maybe they'll follow what, I think you have been calling for, which is throw Elijah Chapman back there.
I mean, I don't mind seeing a fullback chapter in the playbook. You know that. I'm always been a fan of that. Here's what I will tell you, though. We've also said this since they drafted Skattebo. You could probably see some section of the playbook where both guys are in the backfield at the same time.
Yep.
But that's not because they're going to be in an I and one guy's going to be the fullback. That's not going to be the case at all. And I'm not sure they're going to be lined up in a pro set, but what they may wind up doing is having one guy run out, sprint out into it would be Tracy, sprint out and wind up leaving a single back in the backfield with pre-snap motion. Or they could even, in theory, line up Skattebo as an H-back and then just have him go out for a pass. They could do that. But to line Skattebo up as a fullback per se, terrible mistake.
Yeah, having both backs back there on the same play would just be to throw off the defense and keep them on their toes, which since we drafted Skattebo, I've been saying I cannot wait to see Brian Dable and Mike Kafka come up with some plays that have both of those guys back there. And as you just mentioned, Paul, send one of them in motion, and it's going to have the defense scrambling because then you still have to account for the running back that's still in the backfield, knowing that guy is more than capable of running routes and catching passes down the field.
Yep.
All right. It sounds like we're on the same page, but I doubt you're going to agree with my very next statement, even though you guys just said everything you just said. Cam Skattebo is also not a power back. And I think
that's not true.
Think the biggest thing is hold on. I think the biggest thing is when you look at who Cam Skattebo is, I think they take two of his good traits, circle them together, and make them power, but that's not what he is. So I think he has great vision. He's got soft hands. He runs with extreme aggression, and he's got good contact balance. And what I think is because people see his aggression and his contact balance, they automatically make that a power back. But like you just said, Paul, if you play a running back in the wrong type of position, they won't reach their potential. And they have him listed as 5'11". But the problem is y'all keep taking pictures of him and Tracy standing next to each other. I kind of believe Tracy's 5'11", but he's got like 4 inches on Cam Skattebo. So there's no way he's that tall. And then I just keep thinking about 3rd and 1, Vita Vea is lined up on the other side. Do you think he looks back at his linebackers and cares Cam Skattebo? Hey, man, I'm going to need help. This Cam Skattebo back there, is he laughing? Like, I know I know y'all not doing this. So I think on short yardage situations, like you guys just said, they need to really have both Tracy and Skattebo on the field at the same time, like you said, motion, misdirection, because I just don't want them teeing off on this man on 1st and 10 from the 2-yard line. Putting Cam Skattebo back there, you're going to get him injured. He's going to deal with it. And the other thing is, when he does make contact and he's he's going to make contact, he has a tendency to lead with the crown of his helmet. And y'all know what time it is. It's just simple physics. If he does that to a big 350-pound, 6'4" man, we know where he's going to be right after that. And it's just simple physics there. And I'm afraid because every time I see, he's a power back, he's a power back, he's a power back. No, he's not. He's too small to be one. He's a good running back that runs with power, but he's not a power back. And then I'll get off. I'm going to say this last thing. It's also why I think that GVR should start at center. And it's because JSM, the coaches will tell you at any point, we like to see that guys learn from the mistakes and they're not making the same mistakes over and over and over. But JSM or JMS, whatever, Jingleheimer Schmidt, I don't know. All I know is for 2 years now, the one thing that keeps happening is he gets pushed directly backwards. And it keeps happening. And they have yet to circle this and say he's a repeat offender in this. He's just too light in the butt. And John already did a thing with Warren Sapp as far as what Russell Wilson's numbers are under pressure, especially in the center pressure.
Warren Sharp.
The center is not moving many people, and then you're going to put a smaller back in the back and try to move 1 yard. It's going to look just like it's been looking for years and years. But I'll take your responses to that. Thank you.
Well, to start, let me just say, I don't think there's any running back in the NFL that Vita Vea is looking at and being intimidated by and asking his defenders behind him for help, other than maybe Derrick Henry.
Yeah, because
talking about the largest guy in the NFL.
Vita Vea is
a crazy example to use.
He's a monster of a defensive tackle. He's an upper echelon player. So I'm with Matt on this one. First of all, we've been telling you this. In fact, I've been banging the drum on this since John Michael Schmitz got drafted. He's an undersized center who has to increase his power quotient. He's a very smart player. He gives good effort. He's known for his technique. But here's the problem. If he doesn't increase his power quotient, his level of effectiveness is always going to fall short of the mark. That's just a fact. I'm sorry. It's just a fact. Now, he's in his third season. I don't know where his power quotient is because I haven't seen him in a game. Let's see him in the preseason games and let's see how he does. I don't know what he's lifting right now. I don't go in the weight room and log these guys' numbers. But what you've said is something I've been saying for 3 years. He's got to get stronger, thicker and stronger if he's going to be able to hold up in this league against some of the bigger defensive tackles. That's not a secret. I'm glad you pay attention to the show. As far as the other situation goes, you're wrong. Skattebo is a power back. Now, what he does have are many more deceptive traits that also make him run to daylight. He's got great vision. He's got great patience. He knows how to read blocks. He does have some quickness and elusiveness at the point of attack with his feet. And he does take good angles to daylight. He can run to daylight. So that's all true. But when we talk about a power back, we're talking about a guy, if he gets his head of steam going into the line and it's 3rd and 1, can he get enough momentum between his energy, his push, and his strength, especially out of his legs? Can he push that pile if there's not any room and still get the 3rd and 1 first down? If you watch Cam Skattebo at Arizona State, you know he can do it. And if he's on the 1 yard line, he's getting into the end zone and he will push somebody or drag somebody across the goal line. That's why he's a power back.
Yeah, look, no one is going to, look at Cam Skattebo and get him mistaken for Brandon Jacobs back there. Obviously, he's a lot smaller, but I don't see how you could look at what he did at Arizona State last year and the amount of times that he ran people over and say that he's just not at all a power back. Like, you don't need to be Derrick Henry size in order to be a power back.
Right.
You ask, this is a different position, but you ask anyone on the team who the strongest player on this team is, they would say Elijah Chapman. Mm-hmm. And he is nowhere remotely close to the biggest guy on the team. You don't need to be the biggest or have insane size in order to be considered a power player at your position. So I just completely disagree with that take. I mean, again, if you can run people over, and you're right, some of it is just having great contact balance, for sure. But it involves having a ton of physicality, which is a characteristic of a power back.
I like to use the term power quotient because It is the amount of power that you pack into the frame that you have. JMS needs a higher power quotient. Skattebo has a very high power quotient for his frame.
He is so compact. If you were to see him in person, you would not think he's like so small. Like, yeah, you're right. He's not tall. He's not the tallest. But he is so built. He's built like a little truck.
Yep. All right, we go back to the phones. David in North Carolina on line 1. You're next on the program. Hello.
Hey, guys. Sorry to beat a dead horse here, but, man, when that gentleman just called in, I had to call in and respond. It sounds like you guys did.
We took care of him, David. It's okay. Not to worry.
Listen, we all love Brandon Jacobs, right? One of the best power backs in the NFL at the time, no doubt about it. But, one thing, Jacobs had an issue, and I'm sure it's one of the reasons coaches told him throughout his life, hey, you shouldn't be a running back, is his height. And so I don't care how big you are, how tough you are, how strong you are, the low man wins. And there were times in short yardage situations, I'm not going to lie to you, I actually like Bradshaw better in short yardage situations because he was so low to the ground.
Understood.
And he was so tough. And I'm telling you right now, someone that just called, if he don't think Skattebo can do those type of things, to your guy's point, he didn't watch the tape at Arizona. Skattebo can run in short yardage. And not only can he, he's going to do it, and he's going to be successful at it. The guy's got the right attitude, and I don't care how tall he is. I hope he's 5'5", because you can't find those guys. You can't find those guys behind the line of scrimmage, and before you know it, they're through the hole and gone. So,
you know what we ought to do? We ought to get that last caller back and ask him if he'd like to substitute for the telephone poles that Skattebo used to run into, and then we'll let him figure out if Skattebo's a power back or not.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
201-939-4513. Jason in New Haven, you're next on the program. Hello.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Hi.
What's up, Jason?
Hey, good to see you, man. Good to hear from you guys. Quick. I'll probably just make this point quick because I know you got other callers, but I'm not going to get into the Skattebo thing. I thought that was I don't want to say people's opinions are ridiculous, but he was far off with that opinion on Skattebo, so we won't even go there. I wanted to talk about one of my points was the JMS conversation. I don't necessarily, and I'm not saying you two are doing it, just in Giants land, social media, other shows. To me, I think JMS gets a little bit too much hate. I hate to use the word hate, quote unquote, but to me, it looked like to me he made a pretty good jump in his second year. We already knew coming out of Minnesota, he was an undersized center who needed to work on his power getting into the NFL, right? So I thought he looked good last year personally, and it's not surprising that your center looked a little better when you're not running, and there's no disrespect to those guys. They made it to NFL. They have talent. But it's no surprise that he went from year one playing with Marcus McKeithen and whoever else was on the other guard position to now playing with vets like Runyon and Van Roten. And I know, Paul, you're not the biggest PFF fan. Maybe Matt, you look more into the analytics. But he made a 20-point improvement in his PFF, if I'm looking at it correctly. He made a 20-point improvement in his PFF grades last year, where his protection went from maybe below average to adequate, and his run blocking went from maybe below average to average. So sometimes, I said it before on other calls with you guys, and I know you guys know, sometimes it takes every player that comes into the league is not going to be an all-pro player off rip. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have your Abdul Carters, you have your Justin Jeffersons, you have your Malik Neighbors, you have your Adrian Petersons. The list goes on and on. Peyton Mannings, they come out the college football and they hit even Peyton struggled his first year. But some of these guys hit the floor running. But that's not the norm. You have to. I just feel like everybody's in such a rush to just dump on young players.
It is year 3, though, to be frank, okay? To be frank, Jason, here's the thing. It is year 3, and we all know that the MO in the NFL is that by your 3rd year, you really kind of need to show what it is that you are. There's a little bit of a grace period in year 1 and 2 where you can show improvement, then you can show some more improvement. But by the 3rd season now, in this 3rd season, this is why he is a show-me player right now. He needs to show me, he needs to show all these coaches that he can take that next step and be a higher level quality starter on a consistent basis. He isn't there yet. Let's see what happens when he gets in games.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to diss the guy. I'm simply saying show me.
Yeah, Jason, I'm glad you brought this up because I feel like I said this, I don't even know how many times in the lead up to training camp, that last year, yes, JMS was not as good as he would say he would want it to be, the coaches, anyone would have wanted to be. But he took a step from his rookie year, and it was a pretty noticeable step up. It just, he didn't get to the level that any of us wanted him to get to. But he made an improvement, 1,000%. And I just want to remind fans, because I know now it seems like ancient history, but there's another offensive lineman that is currently on this team who struggled pretty bad his first year, then took a step in year 2, but it wasn't as big of a step as anyone would have wanted. And then year 3, he was an all-pro. And that is Andrew Thomas. I'm not saying JMS is Andrew Thomas, but he had the same exact trajectory through the first 2 years that we have seen from JMS. A kind of bad rookie year and a jump in year 2, but not as big of a jump as we needed. And now it's time for him to show what he can do in year 3. Year 3, as Paul mentioned, is a big year for offensive linemen to show what they can do. No one is going to, lie and say that this is not a big year for JMS, but he did take a step in the right direction last year. And I do feel like that is just, everyone blows over that and disregards it when he did make an improvement.
Okay, so I'm going to ask 2 quick questions and I'll take the answers off the air. If I know the preseason isn't done yet in training camp, let's say if Neil wins one of the guard position, first question is, do you see us as a Giants team leaning more on the run a la 2022? Right? Do you see that? That's the first question. Just because of, apparently over, Wilson's career, he doesn't really attack over the middle. He's more dumping and throwing some shots, right? So that's the first question. Do you see us relying more on that running game? Second question is, I know you guys are not in the front office meetings, of course, but man, I would really love to see if they could work out an extension with Illuminor. I thought he played really, really good last year. He played right tackle, he played left tackle, he could play some guard. The way he interacts with fans, even some of his interactions on social media, hilarious. He's always very positive about the Giants, and he's a really good player. And I think when Thomas is healthy, to me, they're probably in the top echelon of tackle duos if they're both healthy. So would you guys be opposed to them? I know he's a little older now, but would you guys be opposed if the money's right, bringing him back? Because it's hard to find decent NFL linemen, and I feel like if you have one, even though all a bit older, they can play, as most offensive linemen, usually they can play into their late 30s. We've seen some guys play damn near close to 40. So those are my 2 questions, and I'll take off the air, fellas.
Thank you so much for the call.
I think both
the second one.
Well, both of us would love to see Illuminor get extended, but that's not our call. And my understanding was when he signed the deal with the Giants, they wanted to get him for an extra year, and he wanted the shorter-term deal. And as far as I know, I don't know this for sure, my understanding was that he was going to play through the contract and then see what happened. So you need 2 parties to get an extension. The team has to offer one, and he's got to want to sign it. My understanding was he was comfortable with the duration of this deal because he'll be looking for a new deal at some point. I don't know that there are any talks going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes 2 to tango. I would think in a vacuum, yes, we would both be interested in extending Jermaine Illuminor.
We don't control the budget.
We don't control the budget. We don't get any say in the matter other than just voicing our opinions to you guys. Especially because, it's not like there is a right tackle waiting in the wings that's the surefire thing that's going to take over. Obviously, I think the hope is that Marcus Bowe can become one of the starting tackles eventually, but he also has positional flexibility where he can take reps and has taken reps at all 5 positions. So he doesn't necessarily have to be the next right tackle. He can end up being a guard or who knows, center, who you don't even know. But yes, in theory, it would be great to extend Jermaine for all the reasons you mentioned. He's great personality-wise. It seems like he's a good locker room guy. He gets along with everyone. He takes some jabs at the defensive lineman, but that's nothing out of the ordinary from O-line, D-line matchups.
Yep.
So, yeah, it would be great to keep him here beyond this year. But, again, there's a lot of factors that go into that decision. As for the first question, I cannot imagine the offensive game plan changing that much, whether it's Evan Neal or Greg Van Roden at the starting right guard position. Evan Neal has had more success in the run game in the past. We have not seen him play guard in the NFL, though. We don't know. His pass protection could take a huge step on the inside this year. That we don't know yet. He hasn't played guard since 2019 at Alabama, so it's a little too early to say. But what I do know is that the Giants' best player on offense by far and away is Malik Neighbors. I don't think when that is your star player, you're going to become a very run-heavy team and not get the ball to your best player's hands as much as you can. Obviously, the hope is that the Giants are winning in more games where there will be a lot more run plays than we saw last year. That's obviously the hope. But, yeah, we also hope that Evan Neal ends up winning the job because, as we've mentioned, we feel like he probably has a higher upside at right guard than GVR. GVR, we saw what he could do last year. Very solid play. We don't know what the ceiling is for Evan Neal at guard, but either way, even if he does win that spot, I can't imagine the offensive game plan changing that much from whatever they are already planning going into the season.
Strategically speaking, they need to run the ball more. And I appreciate what Matt's saying, and I'm not saying I disagree with him. I think there's a happy medium here. The Giants need to run the ball more because they hope to be in closer games where certainly they're tied or leading. They hope to, which makes you want to run the ball more. But here's another reason for it. Russell Wilson is not at a stage in his career where he's going to be able to effectively drop back 32 times and win a game with his arm. That's not what he is anymore. He's also not going to drop back 32 times, scramble and roll out of the pocket 7 or 8 times and throw 50-yard bombs downfield to Tyler Lockett. That's not what he is at this stage of his career, okay? He's just not that guy right now. He's really good, and a lot better than what the Giants have had. But he's not at that elite level anymore where he can thrive in a strongly pass-heavy offensive attack. That is not what's good for Russell Wilson. It's also not good for this offensive line because it puts a lot more pressure on them to be able to hold up. So they need to run the ball more to have more balance to allow Wilson to then be more of a manager and more of a play-action quarterback, which we all know he's one of the best play-action quarterbacks in the league. Just remember, all those great years in Seattle, who do you have? Beast mode, running the ball. He is at his best if you can effectively establish a run. So do I think they're going to be throwing the ball around willy-nilly like a video game, despite Malik Neighbors being on this team? No, I don't think so. I think they're going to want to be more balanced because they know that that's better for the line and it's better for Wilson. They need to be more balanced. And if they're more competitive, all the more reason they need to be more balanced. So I appreciate the point, and in some degree, I still think they're going to throw the ball deeper because they're going to want more explosive plays. So you'll see more of that in the game. But in terms of frequency, I still think they're better off having, in terms of balance, percentage of run pass, they want that to be a lot closer in my mind.
No, Paul, 100%. I never said against that. The caller said, are the Giants going to be very run heavy? I don't think they will be very run heavy.
No.
That's what the caller said. I said They're not going to just abandon or not throw the ball that often with Malik Neighbors as your best player. 1,000%, the ideal offense would be a balanced offense. That goes for every team across the NFL.
Well, most teams. Some teams
You're
not.
Right. Most teams across the NFL. I just want to make that clear. I wasn't saying that they should be throwing the ball, 65% of the time. I don't think that at all.
I misunderstood.
It should be very balanced. I was just saying, to the caller's point, I don't think that they will be very run heavy if Evan Neal wins that starting guard spot.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
all I was
run
saying.
heavy's the Baltimore Ravens. They're run heavy.
The Chargers with Jim Harbaugh.
They're run heavy.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see that.
No, and
But
I don't
you-
think you're going to see, Cincinnati Bengals level of passing in this offense either.
Right.
Because Russell Wilson is not Joe Burrow. No one's going to confuse those two. But I will say that if you look at Russell Wilson's stats the last 2 years, which, again, they're not the all-pro, Pro Bowl Russell Wilson stats from 10 years ago, but the last 2 years he's averaged about, if you combine the two, 30 pass attempts a game. And his numbers were solid. They weren't amazing, but solid numbers. And that's 30 dropbacks a game. I think he's capable of that.
That's got to be his max if the Giants are going to win games.
Well, yeah, you don't want him throwing, averaging 35
yeah,
plus.
I said before, 32. I
that's-
don't want him throwing the ball 32 times. I know it sounds like it's a minuscule, but you got to keep that number down. It should be in the high 20s, to be honest.
In an ideal world, you want your offense to be completely balanced.
Yeah.
If you're the Giants, at least. Doesn't go for every team across the NFL, as you said.
No. All right. Run or walk with Giants legends. The Giants Foundation will host a 5K race and kids run presented by Quest on Sunday, October 26th at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants receive a commemorative T-shirt after the race. Stay for a post-race festival with appearances by Giants legends and a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K. The Giants Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. Don't forget, season ticket memberships for 2025 are available. Stay connected to the team all year round with exclusive member access and benefits. To learn more about a Giants season ticket membership, visit giants.com/tickets and the Giants TV mobile app. It's free, it's streaming, it's on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. Download it. It's great. You can see all kinds of videos from practice. It shows you all the stuff that we've been talking about for weeks at a time now. And then finally, the Giants Huddle podcast. We all know it, folks. John's on there with a whole bunch of interviews. Giants personnel, NFL personnel. And oh, by the way, aside from all of that stuff, there was a very special Eli Manning show that did hit the Giants.com airwaves today. Matt, I think you had the pleasure of hitting the buttons to make sure that went up.
I did indeed.
Folks, I don't want to spoil it for you, but you'll remember there used to be a very, very large afternoon sports talk show personality here in New York who has since moved over to streaming and web, and he's no longer on regular terrestrial radio. Let's just say that there is a storyline that started about 10 years ago involving this football team and a certain baseball team, and it all kind of came together in today's Eli Manning show.
Yeah.
How about that for a nice way to hint but not give it all away?
Yeah. So it's just a preview because we have the new season of the Eli Manning show coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
The video that was put out today is just a little, you can call it a teaser, a little trailer preview.
Oh, yeah.
But as Paul hinted at, it touches on what turned into a very viral moment on this so-called the radio personalities old talk show on WFAN. I believe he was on WFAN.
Yes, at the
then.
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Asking about the Giants and the Giants, San Francisco and New York, and whether or not they get together every year because they share a name.
Take a look.
Giants.com, the Giants mobile app, Giants YouTube channel. It's all over the place. We blasted it everywhere. It's only, I think, a 30-second video. Give it a look. If you get what we are referencing, give it a look because I can guarantee you will find it entertaining.
And if you don't get it, just ask somebody who used to listen to The Fan. They'll explain it to you, and trust me, you will enjoy it. And when the full-fledged Eli Manning show video does come out, I'm sure it's going to be a blast. So that's available right now on Giants.com. Couple quick notes from the YouTube. Paco the Great says, any updates on Skattebo? He's got a sore leg, and right now they're being very, very careful with him. They don't want to push him. No sense in making any soreness worse right now, first week of August.
Yeah, there's no rush at all. They obviously want him to be healthy come the regular season, which is the most important thing. So they are not going to rush him back at all. Yeah, I mean, Dabes is not the most forthgoing with injury information.
No.
Period. So we can't really say for sure how long he's going to be out for, when he'll be back. But until Dable expresses some extreme concern, I would say just no reason to get too concerned yet.
We have a couple of more items here on YouTube asking about Skattebo's leg and wanting to know how long he's going to be out. There's a report out there apparently that the Giants have brought in a running back and signed one for camp. Well, here's the thing, folks. Right now, Rashawn Baker got hurt the other day. You were there. You saw when he went down.
Yep.
So he's hurt. Skattebo is a bit gimpy. Well, do I need to explain to you how many numbers the Giants have at running back with those two guys not able to take reps? Do you know how unfair it is to Tracy and to Singletary and to Turbo Miller to say, guys, you got to go out there and take all these reps during training camp? That doesn't make sense. You're going to get somebody else hurt. Nobody wants that. So this is what's known as if in fact, and I don't know if the team has confirmed any signing yet, but even Dable said today they were bringing in running backs. They were going to be looking to sign a training camp body because they need someone to take reps. That's it.
Look, this would have happened if it was any single position and they were going through the same sort of injury situation. Like, I know because it's Skattebo and he's already a very popular player.
And remember, Eric Gray is already hurt.
Yes, Eric Gray is already on the pup. There were 3 running backs at practice today. When they were when all the positions went off to do their individual drills, I looked over at the running backs and it was like kind of like a sad sight. It was only 3 of them. They looked kind of lonely out there. So
and winded.
Yeah, and winded. So again, this would have happened if it was any position that was going through the same sort of current injury situation that the running backs are going through at the moment. Just because, the reported signing of the running back that was brought in, that does not necessarily mean that, Skattebo is going to be out for a long time. They need bodies to get through each day of training camp. Because as you just mentioned, Paul, you cannot ask 3 running backs to take every single rep during training camp for these 2-hour practices.
It was getting
because those guys are going to get hurt, and then you're going to be left with 0 running backs, where you and I are going to have to be lining up at a running back. And nobody wants to see that.
I was going to sacrifice you. I wasn't.
Fine. Me and Johnny Mac.
You got it, because I wasn't putting pads on to go against Dexter Lawrence. That's not happening. Okay? That is not happening. All right. Jake Rock 056 says, what are your thoughts on Dart? Jackson Dart has had a good camp. He had a great spring and off-season and mini camp. Got to training camp looking a little bit more like a rookie, but he's had a good camp as far as a rookie quarterback goes, and he's taken a lot more second-team reps also as the days go on as well, because I think the Giants understand this is the best time to give him those opportunities. Once the season starts, Winston's going to get second-team reps during the regular practices. If you don't get Dart those extra reps now, he won't get them.
Yeah, I was going to say that the way I would categorize Jackson Dart's training camp so far is it has been an encouraging start to training camp for a rookie quarterback, because I'm not going to lie and say that he's been perfect. He's made mistakes. He'd be the first one to tell you that. He's made some mistakes. He's made some bad throws, some interceptions, some not great decisions, but he's also made some fantastic plays, some impressive throws, downfield, short routes, intermediate. I mean, the play I was talking about before where he literally leaped in the air, falling, sidearm throw for a first down, that was an amazing athletic play. So he's had good plays, he's had bad plays. That's what you expect from a rookie quarterback. Not often does a rookie quarterback step into an NFL training camp and just be lights out each and every day. Like that it doesn't happen for veteran quarterbacks, let alone rookies. So it's been an encouraging start. He's obviously still got a long ways to go. Luckily, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and Tommy DeVito are all here, where he will not have to hopefully take the field in a regular season game, hopefully for a long time.
Man, and I might also add, Tommy DeVito's had a good camp too.
Yeah, Tommy's looked pretty good.
He's played well. He's played well.
He seems to be the forgotten man of the group, but he's still here and he's still making plays.
He's had a good offseason.
He's not letting the noise get to him, clearly, because he's still looking pretty good.
Go watch if you get a chance. He did a sit-down with Phil Simms.
Yes, the QB series.
The QB series that Phil Simms is doing for the Giants internet site. It's also part of the TV programs that air every week. Really nice sit-down with Phil Simms and Tommy DeVito. You'll enjoy that very much. Papa Sutra says, just saw the pass that Russell Wilson threw to Malik Neighbors when he was stumbling but still caught it. Wilson threw a beautiful pre-anticipated pass. I love it. Absolutely. Benjamin Carrasco says, I can't say how refreshing it is to finally have the offense keep up with the defense. It was always said the defense is always further ahead. And then LDB, and I don't know what that stands for, but he says, so glad you're now on YouTube. Means a UK listener for 8 years can now interact. I'm a big Shane and Dable believer. Every pick they've made, people have loved at the time. Easy to criticize post-pick. Well, I think the internet is international. Couldn't he still have gotten Giants.com and the show live that way in the UK?
Yes, but he wouldn't have been able, he said, to interact. So to type this comment out, because it's the live on YouTube, he can type this out.
Right.
It would have been more difficult, I would imagine, in being in UK to call in.
Well, you could have interacted
international
through hashtag Giants Chat on Twitter, right?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how many people use that anymore, though.
I don't know. But we're very glad that you like YouTube, and we've been on YouTube live now for a couple of months, and it does seem that we get an expansive audience by going through that route, and we get a lot of different people. We get questions on that every single show.
Yeah, obviously we love and appreciate everyone that calls in each day, and we get to hear your voices, but we appreciate and love these YouTube comments as well. It helps keep the conversation going when the phone lines might be empty, as they have been the last couple of minutes. So gives us some nice way to get to more of you and hear from more of you. So yeah, keep it coming with the YouTube comments.
All right, so now, again, the schedule for the rest of the week. Now, we're going to be here every day at 2 o'clock like we are every weekday.
Forever.
Okay. Well, I'm okay. So show me where to sign up. I'm good with forever. I'll do that. But in any case, there is no practice tomorrow, but we will have a show tomorrow, 2 o'clock. And then on Wednesday, fully padded practice. They go back to hitting. That's more of a live practice again, so there'll be a lot more to say after that one. Thursday's a carded practice where they have specific plays that they just want to run through, and it's not really as competitive as the other sessions. And then on Friday, travel to Buffalo for Saturday's preseason opener against the Bills. That, of course, is at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and can be seen locally here on WNBC Channel 4 in New York. You'll be also able, I believe, to hear it on the Odyssey app and the Giants.com website and the Giants app. And then also, that game is going to be televised live on NFL Network. So if you are out of the New York area, you don't have to get blacked out on this deal. You can watch the Giants in Buffalo on NFL Network live at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon as well. That's our schedule.
And while there may not be practice tomorrow, there is media scheduled. So Coach Dable and a couple of players will be meeting with the media over Zoom. So we will get, some content from the team. It's not quite the same as getting to watch a 2-hour practice, but it's better than nothing. We'll get to hear from Coach. Maybe he'll have some updates on players that maybe did not practice today. Who knows? Again, he's not always the most forthcoming with injury updates to the media, so I'd say don't hold your breath on that.
I'm just glad he's not my doctor. You would have an impossible time getting a diagnosis out of him.
Yeah, it was not the most forthcoming. At least,
Doc, how am I doing?
At least publicly.
Oh, you're doing better.
You got a leg.
Folks, jot down the number 201-939-4513. We will be back tomorrow live, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, with another edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. So glad you could join us from the Giants Podcast Studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. For Matt, I'm Paul. We'll see you again next time, everybody.